Are you struggling to get your bills paid, but you need a loan anywhere from $1,000 up to $50,000, right? And to think about it, you may have a high DTI, debt to income, over 75%, right? So if you have a high debt to income ratio, you don't have the best credit, where do you go? Well, here's the thing about it. There's Upstart, okay? Now, why am I saying Upstart? Many people are aware of Upstart, but here's the thing about it. There have been people with 6 collections, active collections, but the thing about it, they had high income. And because they have high income being deposited into their business bank account, Upstart was willing to work with them, willing to give them the chance and stuff because they figured that, hey, they're going to be paying off the debt. Now, would that mean that you're probably going to have to show they use Plaid, okay, to connect your bank account, all right, to verify that you have this high income, all right? Then sometimes if they can't verify it that way, they may ask you to send over pay stubs and things of that nature. But in terms of like what credit bureaus they pull, they're usually going to pull a TransUnion, okay? Usually a TransUnion FICO 9, but sometimes they will switch it up with the data metrics, and more likely they may switch it up and look at your LexisNexis, right? Or your SageStream, all right? So here's the thing about it that people don't understand. This is where the majority of your data from the credit bureaus come from anyway. So if this is where the credit bureau's information is coming from, this is what you may need to address too. Now, here's a few reasons that people do get denied. Now, you can do a pre-approval for a soft pull, so that way they don't have to do a hard pull on the file. But if you actually accept it, they are going to do a hard pull. But there's a few reasons why, and I'm going to tell you about some other alternative lenders that if you have bad credit and you don't want the hard pull, or on your credit file and stuff like that. I'll show you some other lenders as well. But I wanted to bring this to your attention because a lot of people are not aware of. Like this here. If you have mismatched names on your credit file, this can get you disqualified, right? This will get your application denied. Now, you yourself, you may not even be aware of it, that there's a misspelling on your name, right? And so that data, again, you would check LexisNexis, then you will pull from the real major credit bureaus. And I have a link below to actually show you the major credit bureaus, what you should be looking at, all right? Especially when you're looking for money and stuff, you should always know what's on your real credit report. Now, number 2 is the address, right? So your name may be okay, but say that you've been moving around and stuff like that. You've been changing different addresses and stuff. You've been working different jobs and stuff. So you may have to move from this city to this city or whatever. So by you moving to a different city and that address is not updating as you put it on the application and stuff, right? So because that address is not updating, now you have another problem, right? That can get you denied. So this is why I tell people, before you do anything, whenever you're looking to get money, you need to know what's on your personal credit file, because it may not have nothing to do with the credit. Like I said, there was a client that had 6 collections, active collections, and they still approved them. 6 active collections, they still approved them because he had high income, right? And so if you're able to prove that with the accuracy of the information and stuff, it makes it much easier. Now, in terms of some of you guys, you're like, okay, well, they won't help me, and I'm not looking for $50,000. I'm just looking for maybe $5,000 or just a couple $1,000. Then you may want to look at Uproba, right? So with Uproba, again, they're one of those lenders. They're not in all 50 states. But again, one of the biggest problems with your regular bank and credit unions, this debt to income ratio. So you can be at a high 800 credit score and you can have multiple inquiries on the file, but with banks and credit unions, they can actually say, well, nah, that's okay. right? Even with an 800 credit score. But because you have a high debt to income ratio, because like with most banks, if you go above this here 55%, then they'll deny you. Now, PenFed is one of those lenders that will work with you if you have at least a 60%. But when you go above that 60%, it's very hard for you to actually get a loan and stuff from your traditional lenders. Right? It's very challenging. Right? Now, that being said, like I said, with Uproba, they will offer you a loan. Okay? And so with Uproba, their loans start at from 300 up to 5,000, right? Now, please keep in mind, Uproba being a tribal lender, all right, their interest rate is probably going to be through the roof, right? But at the same time, because it's a tribal lender, you're not worried about them doing a hard inquiry and stuff. And like I said, they won't use LexisNexis or SageStream. What they will use is like, which is owned by Experian. They would use DataX, which is owned by Equifax, or FactorTrust. So if they use one of these are the financial credit bureaus, all right? These are the ones that they know, okay, this is a financial loan or whatever. So they'll use these to see if you qualify, all right? And that way you don't get the hard inquiry on your credit file. All right. Now, with Uproba, they won't report the loan on your credit file as well. Now, you also have Rise Credit. Okay. So with Rise Credit, they go from 500 up to 5,000. Okay. So that's an option. Again, like I said, if you're a person that's needing money and these other lenders, the other banks and stuff, not wanting to work with you, this is what you have to work with, especially when you can't reach out to friends and family and say, hey, I need a couple $1,000s right quick or whatever. Then this is what you have to work with. Now, there's Explore Credit. Okay, so there's Explore Credit. Now, here's the thing about it with Explore Credit. All right, again, all of these are tribal lenders. All of these are tribal lenders, all right? So they're going to use these here credit bureaus, more likely. They'll use these here credit bureaus to verify, so you don't have to worry about the hard inquiry. But these type of loans, they don't show up on your personal credit, okay? Now with Rise Credit, as you make payments, they may start reporting it back to your TransUnion and Equifax, but that's afterwards. But during the process, you don't have to worry about that, okay? So that's the reason why these are some of your options, all right? Now, you also have like your banks, your credit unions, that you can probably go get a couple $1,000s from with bad credit. And some of those is like a U.S. Bank, okay? So if you remember U.S. Bank, you never had any derogatories with your checking account, then they have your simple dollar that goes from 100 up to 1,000, right? So then you have BOFA, and they offer a loan up to $500. They charge $20 flat fee, right? So you have options, even if you're Wells Fargo, okay? So if you're Wells Fargo, it's $250 to $500. So they're $12 for the 200, and then it's $20 for the 500. So you do have banks out there that offer small dollar loans or whatever, but when you're looking at like a couple thousand or 5 or 10,000 and stuff like that, then you have to look elsewhere. Like you also have Yendo. So Yendo, if you have a paid off car or you making payments on a car, but you have equity in the car, then they're able to give you a credit line as well. And so with Yendo, with their credit line, goes up to 10,000 also, so long as you have equity in the car. All right. Now, then you also have, if you're in the gig economy and you can prove that you have revenue coming in, like your side hustle and stuff like that, and you prove that you have revenue coming in, then again, you have like Giggle Finance. All right. So you have like Giggle Finance up to 5,000. And so you would have to be doing it for at least 90 days in order for them to approve you, and your revenue has to be at least $1,200 a month in order for Giggle Finance. And again, please keep in mind with these type of lenders, they're not in all 50 states. All right, so that's a real biggie that most people look over. Now, you also have Fundo, right? So Fundo is a merchant cash advance, and it offers up to $10,000, but it's not in California or New York. Okay, so they can't help you if you're in those states, right? But it's a merchant cash advance that you can actually, if you're in the gig economy, they can actually help you also. All right, so now you know that if Upstart can't help you, you have these other lenders that may be able to help you. Now, if you have any other questions about business credit funding, personal credit funding, removing negative items off the credit, click the link in the description. Schedule a one-on-one consultation. Thank you.